Hello students, our next poem, not poem, a song is Blowing in the Wind. It is written by Bob Dylan. He is an American singer, songwriter, author and a visual artist. He is often regarded as one of the greatest songwriters of all time. His songs, Blowing in the Wind and The Times They Are Changing, became the anthems for the American civil rights and anti-war movements. It has been described as a protest song and poses a series of rhetorical questions about peace, war, and freedom. Students, let us go through the first stanza. How many roads must a man walk down before you call him a man? How many seas must a white dove sail before she sleeps in the sand? Yes, and how many times must the cannonballs fly before they are forever banned? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. Students, you might have noticed that there are three questions raised here. They are called rhetorical questions because a rhetorical question is the one for which the questioner does not expect a direct answer. It may be used to emphasize a speaker's opinion on a special subject. And it is a question asked in order to create a dramatic effect or to make a point rather than to get an answer. ചോദ്യകർത്താവ് ഒട്ടും തന്നെ ഉത്തരം പ്രതീക്ഷിക്കാതെ പറയുന്ന കാര്യങ്ങൾക്ക് കുറച്ചുകൂടി ഊന്നൽ നൽകാൻ വേണ്ടി ചോദിക്കുന്ന ചോദ്യങ്ങളെയാണ് rhetorical questions എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. Here, in this song, these rhetorical questions are followed by a refrain. The literal meaning of refrain is to avoid doing or stop doing something. But in poetry, a refrain is a word or a line or a phrase that is repeated at intervals, generally at the end of the stanza, to add rhythm to it. The first question is, how many roads must a man walk down before you call him a man? The poet is asking how many roads or how much distance a man should travel to call him a man. But here, the road represents journeys, choices, and life experiences. How much should a man experience or go through adverse situations to call him a man, to accept him as an individual, to grant him respect? The poet didn't give any speculations about what he is referring. So, it is a freedom of the readers to imagine the possible situations. We all know the period was when the civil rights movement was going on in full swing in United States. It was a struggle for social justice that took place mainly during the 1950s and 1960s for black Americans to gain equal rights under the law in United States. It was a mass protest against racial segregation, discrimination, oppression and slavery. How many roads must a man walk down can also be the journey from boyhood to manhood. Walk down even refers to going for war. In those days, it was a pride of the family to send a boy to participate in the war. The poet throws light on the belief system prevailing in those days. It is believed that a boy can become a man only after going to war. How many times a person would be required to fight wars so that he can be called a man? Another interpretation is the poet wonders how much life experiences a man has to suffer in order to be called a man. The poetic device used is metaphor. Road is a metaphor for life or for life experiences. ഒരാൾ എത്ര നടന്നാലാണ്, എത്ര ജീവിത കഷ്ടപ്പാടുകൾ അനുഭവിച്ചാലാണ് അദ്ദേഹത്തെ ഒരു വ്യക്തിയായി നിങ്ങൾക്ക് കാണാൻ സാധിക്കുക? എത്ര വഴികളിലൂടെ സഞ്ചരിക്കണം മനുഷ്യനായി പോലും പരിഗണിക്കാൻ എന്നാണ് അദ്ദേഹം ചോദിക്കുന്ന ആദ്യത്തെ ചോദ്യം. The second question, how many seas must a white dove sail before she sleeps in the sand? Here, the speaker uses dove, a symbol of peace to evoke a long journey towards world's peace. He is raising the question, how long, how many seas must the white dove sail in order to sleep peacefully in the sand? സമാധാനത്തിൻ്റെ പ്രതീകമായിട്ടുള്ള വെള്ളരിപ്രാവിന് പോലും നമ്മുടെ ഈ ഭൂമിയിൽ സമാധാനം കിട്ടാതെ അലയേണ്ടി വരുന്ന ഒരു ഗതികെട്ട കാലഘട്ടത്തിലൂടെയാണ് ലോകം നീങ്ങിക്കൊണ്ടിരിക്കുന്നത് എന്നാണ് സ്പീക്കർ ഇവിടെ പറഞ്ഞു വരുന്നത്. Some say that the dove has got biblical reference with the Noah's Ark. The story of Noah and the flood is one of the best known stories in the Bible. God tells Noah to build an ark and to fill it with a pair of every species on the earth. The wickedness of the people made God regret. So he sent deluge that would destroy all the living creatures in the world. Deluge means severe flood, and it lasted for 40 days. For 150 days the water prevailed on the earth. And one day Noah opened the small window of the ark and sent a raven to see the situation outside. But the raven did not return. It was happy feeding the dead bodies and carcass all around. Raven was considered as evil. So when everything was cleared by the deluge, what first landed on the clear earth was raven, which means evil landed before the good virtue and began to reign the world, which is believed to be the reason behind the anarchy and war all around the world. Next, Noah sent the dove. Dove returned because it could not find a place to set her foot, and it returned to the ark, for the waters were still on earth. After a week, Noah sent the dove again. The dove came back in the evening holding a freshly plucked olive leaf in its beak. So he knew that the water had subsided from the earth, things had begun to grow once again. And it refers to peace, hope, creation and new start on earth. Noah waited for another one more week. Then he sent the dove again, but the dove did not return because it found a beautiful home on earth. From there, life began again. These are all stories in Bible. Sleeping in the sand refers to the fact that there is no war. The poet uses the phrase sleeps in the sand as a reference to the passage in the Bible that describes the incident of Noah sending dove to find land after the flood. He was searching for a place to land and rest. That's why I gave a small description about Noah's Ark. The next line, yes, and how many times must the cannonballs fly before they are forever banned? Here the speaker says how many times man should endure wars before they are outlawed forever. He is asking, how many wars do people have to have before they stop fighting or creating deadly weapons? എത്ര യുദ്ധങ്ങൾ നടന്നാലാണ് ഇവിടെ യുദ്ധങ്ങൾ വേണ്ട എന്ന് നിങ്ങൾക്ക് തോന്നുക? എന്നേക്കുമായി നിരോധിക്കപ്പെടുന്നതിന് മുമ്പ് എത്ര തവണ ഇവിടെ പീരങ്കി ഉണ്ടകൾ ഉതിർക്കും എന്നൊക്കെയാണ് ബോബ് ഡിലൻ ചോദിക്കുന്നത്. നെക്സ്റ്റ് ഈസ് ദ റിഫ്രെയിൻ. The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. He says that the answers to all these questions raised by him lies in the wind. But the problem is that nobody troubles to quest for those answers. If the answers are blowing, it is either right in front of the people or it is impossible to grasp. The answers is at once obvious and as invincible as the air itself. Wind is everywhere. The answers are closer to us. Another interpretation is the answer could be ever changing. It cannot be stable, just like the wind that is constantly moving. The answers in the form of wind is everywhere in front of us, waiting for us to realize. But we are blind enough to see anything, just like we don't see the wind. The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. ഇതിനുള്ള ഉത്തരം സുഹൃത്തെ കാറ്റിൽ വീശുന്നുണ്ട്. അദ്ദേഹം ഉന്നയിച്ച എല്ലാ ചോദ്യങ്ങൾക്കുള്ള മറുപടിയും പരിഹാരവും നമുക്ക് ചുറ്റുമുണ്ട് എന്നാണ് പറഞ്ഞു തരുന്നത്. പക്ഷേ നമ്മൾ ആരും തന്നെ അത് കണ്ടെത്താൻ ശ്രമിക്കുന്നില്ല, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ കണ്ടില്ലെന്ന് നടിക്കുകയാണ് ചെയ്യുന്നത്. In the first stanza, the cannonballs refers to war and violence. Next stanza, yes, and how many years can a mountain exist before it is washed to the sea? Yes, and how many years can some people exist before they are allowed to be free? Yes, and how many times can a man turn his head and pretend that he just doesn't see? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. Here, the mountain symbolizes the pride and ego of those who desire war. According to the speaker, the lust for the war of the strong will not last for long. It will sink into the sea one day. Mountain represent the power of the oppressive rulers, and the sea represent the power of the people's protest. ഒരു കടലിനാൽ പൂർണ്ണമായും ഇല്ലാതാകുന്നതിന് മുമ്പ് എത്ര കാലം ഒരു പർവ്വതത്തിന് നിലനിൽക്കാൻ സാധിക്കും? കർത്തവർഗക്കാരെ ചൂഷണം ചെയ്ത് ജീവിക്കുന്ന ഭരണകൂടത്തിന്റെ പ്രതീകമായി നമുക്ക് പർവ്വതത്തെ കാണാൻ സാധിക്കും. അതുപോലെ തന്നെ സാധാരണക്കാരന്റെ പ്രതിഷേധമായി നമുക്ക് കടലിനെയും കാണാൻ സാധിക്കും. ജനരോഷമാകുന്ന കടലിന് മുന്നിൽ അധികാരശക്തിയായ പർവ്വതത്തിന് എത്ര കാലം പിടിച്ചു നിൽക്കാൻ പറ്റും എന്നാണ് ചോദിക്കുന്നത്. നെക്സ്റ്റ് ലൈൻ, how many years can some people exist before they are allowed to be free? Here there is a direct reference to the discrimination against the African Americans who were treated as second-class citizens. He wonders when these people will be able to live freely instead of just existing. How much hardships the oppressed will have to suffer before they are free. The speaker is pointing at the main concerns of civil rights movements, which are freedom, peace, justice, and equality. You have already studied the lesson Rosa Parks sat still in your 8th standard. On December 1st, 1955, the modern civil rights movement began when Rosa Parks, an African American woman, was arrested for refusing to give her seat for the white man in a bus in Montgomery, Alabama. Oppressions and slavery are still existing in our modern world too. Next couplet, yes, how many times can a man turn his head and pretend that he just doesn't see? He is asking, how long can a man turn away from the realities and pretend to be dumb, deaf and blind to the struggles and sorrows around him? Here, a man refers to the rulers, and some people in the previous couplet refers to the oppressed slaves. എത്ര കാലം നിലനിന്നാലാണ് ചില മനുഷ്യർക്ക് സ്വാതന്ത്ര്യം അനുവദിച്ചു കിട്ടുക, അടിമതുല്യമായ ജീവിതത്തിൽ നിന്ന് മോചനം ലഭിക്കുക? എത്ര കാലം അക്രമങ്ങളും അനീതിയും കണ്ടില്ലെന്ന് നടിക്കാൻ അധികാരശക്തികൾക്ക് കഴിയും എന്നാണ് ചോദിക്കുന്നത്. When he is raising all these questions, he is very optimistic that one day everything will be clear. മനുഷ്യന്റെ നന്മ ആഗ്രഹിക്കുന്ന ആരെങ്കിലും അധികം വൈകാതെ തന്നെ ഈ അനീതികൾക്കെതിരെ പ്രതിഷേധിക്കും എന്ന സൂചനയും ഈ വരികളിൽ ഉണ്ട്. Again the refrain, the answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. He is again saying that the solutions for all these problems are staring at us. It is clear from this that the truth seems to evade us, or we choose to ignore it for our own benefit. The third stanza, yes, and how many times must a man look up before he can see the sky? Yes, and how many years must one man have before he can hear people cry? Yes, how many deaths will it take till he knows that too many people have died? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. Here he says that how many times one will have to face the war in order to gain freedom and liberty. The speaker refers to the long quest of the people for freedom. Next, he asks how long the rulers will remain deaf to the sorrows of the common people and do something in favor of peace. In the third couplet, he is asking when will they realize that many people have died because of war and it should be stopped. In the ending couplet, he says that the answers lie before us and we should grab them. എത്ര കാലം മുകളിലോട്ട് നോക്കി കാത്തിരിക്കണം സ്വാതന്ത്ര്യം ലഭിക്കാനായിട്ട്? എത്ര കാതുകൾ ഉണ്ടായാലാണ് തനിക്കു ചുറ്റുമുള്ള യാതനകളെ തിരിച്ചറിയാൻ സാധിക്കുക? എത്ര മരണങ്ങൾ നടന്നാലാണ് ഒരുപാട് പേരുടെ ജീവൻ ഇല്ലാതായി എന്നും നമുക്കിനി യുദ്ധങ്ങൾ വേണ്ട എന്ന തീരുമാനമെടുക്കുക? Again in the last refrain, he says, ഇതിനുള്ള ഉത്തരങ്ങൾ കാറ്റിൽ പാറി നടക്കുന്നുണ്ട്. The answer is blowing in the wind. Bob Dylan's words have multiple meanings. It may be referring to the American flag that is literally blowing in the wind. The answer is indeed in the wind, and trying to understand is like trying to chase the wind. Every time pointless. In the line, how many times must a man look up? Here, a man refers to black Americans. And in the line, how many years must one man have? Here, the one man refers to the ruling authority.